Dave Letterfly. How are you today?
I'm doing just a little better than excellent.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with the creative community. You got quite a bit of experience over the years, and I think it'll be highly valuable for them to get some perspective from you.
Oh, good.
Let me give you a brief introduction here for the audience so that they can kind of get a feel for who you are before we jump into the combo. You launched your creative life under the big top as both a musician and a painter, blending performance and artistry in a truly one of a kind training ground. You're a master of old school techniques where you preserve and practice time honored crafted methods, everything from hand lettering to gold leaf, keeping alive skills that are rarely taught today. You're an award winning horseman. Beyond art, you've mastered classic horsemanship and circus practices, showcasing a blend of discipline, showmanship, and artistry that few achieve. You have a custom creative legacy. You're renowned for bold, one of a kind murals, vehicles, and themed decor, bringing storytelling and character to everything from motorcycles to amusement parks. You're also an author and storyteller, where you share your life and lessons through books, newsletters, and talks, inspiring others by weaving together creativity, resilience, and personal journey. And most recently, with your latest book, Hit the Road and Thrive. That's quite a broad spectrum of talents that you have.
Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I would say so.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, I don't have a whole lot of structure to this podcast other than my initial first question, and that is where were you born and what was life like as a kid for Dave?
I was born in Indiana, Portland, Indiana. We lived there when I was a tiny baby. Then we moved to Indianapolis, and then by the time I was 3 years old, we were in Springfield, Ohio, and that's where I claim that I grew up. Springfield, Ohio. I was the younger brother of a kid who uh, produced bizarre behavior,
Okay,
and they didn't have a name for it at the time. Now they have a name for it. He has Asperger's,
got you.
high functioning form of autism, but they didn't have a name for it when I was a kid. All I knew was that he was the target of all the bullies in the neighborhood, and that made me reluctant to become social as a child. And that's probably what influenced me to withdraw into creativity.
Mm,
And a big part of what made me great. So
yeah. How much older was he than you?
my brother was 2 years older than I.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What type of work did your parents do back then? Uh,
My mother was an opera singer, and my
really?
my daddy was a minister.
Okay.
He actually had an artistic background. He was a draftsman during World War II with the Army Air Corps. He sat at a drawing table illustrating flight manuals.
Wow.
So that was an old school trade at
Very
and
much.
I remember growing up, every pencil in the house had a very, very sharp point on it. And that was from his draftsman days.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah, I'm familiar where Springfield is. I'm in Detroit, just outside, about 25 minutes southeast of Detroit.
South and east over by Monroe.
No, actually, more towards Port Huron, Ontario.
Wouldn't that be
It's
okay over there?
yeah,
I was actually up close to you in August.
really
I was all around Detroit, north, west, and south.
okay.
Yeah, I love being in Michigan in August.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice. Did I say southwest
You said, yeah,
or
southeast,
southeast? Or
southeast. So
it's northeast. I apologize.
you
Yeah,
were way
you
up.
had it right.
You were way up by Port Huron, and I have a friend that lives in Port Huron. You might know him, Mark Casey. He's a
Name sounds familiar.
lettering man. He used to have the Detroit Sign Company, and he
Oh yes,
taught at the some school. He taught lettering and stuff. Excellent lettering man.
Center for Creative Studies.
Yeah, or something like that. And
Yeah,
we went up there. My friend Wally and I drove up there to spend the day with Mark. And while we were there, we went and checked out downtown Port Huron.
nice.
Got
Yeah, I'm right in between Detroit and Port Huron. I'm almost exactly in the middle,
okay,
near the
near the
Self-
water.
Selfridge Air National Guard Base.
Okay,
Yeah.
north of Algonac.
Yes. Or
Okay,
no, south of Algonac.
okay,
Yeah,
that's
south of Algonac.
cool. Yeah, that's
So
great
yeah,
country. I love Michigan.
yeah. It's this time of year is when it starts to get nice. The
My
leaves are starting to change. Weather's calming down a bit.
Yeah, my professional career started in Michigan. My very first customer who paid me for painting something was in Clark Lake, Michigan. Yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating. With having that older brother that had autism, Asperger's, and being in elementary school a little bit behind him, did you at that point want to kind of be the kid who was in the back of the room, didn't really want to have attention put on you, or were
Yeah.
you a little bit more outgoing?
I would say, yeah, I was the reserved, withdrawn, uh, introverted student.
Got you. And were you interested in making friends, or did you have one or two that you were pretty
I,
friendly with?
yeah, I would have one or two friends, but I was not the kind of person that wanted to be a team player, join the large group and play on a team or something. That just wasn't me. My my focus was always on either music or art.
Got you. Okay.
And those were things I could manage to do by myself.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
How about your grandparents? Did you know your grandparents very much as a kid?
No, my not very much. No, they were my mom and dad were in the World War II occurred right when they should have been entering into, you know, so they didn't meet each other until their late 30s. So
All
my
right.
grandparents, all of my grandparents were gone by the time I was like 10 or 11 years old.
Okay.
Now, my great grandfather on my mother's side was a fine artist.
Really?
Yeah, and he had a crew of men, and they went around and painted the ornate decor on the interiors of the Lowe's theaters and
Nice.
inside the municipal buildings and stuff all over the country.
Right. Right. Fascinating.
Yeah,
So you've got quite a bit of artistry within the family that's just
yeah,
trickled
I,
on down.
I got it honestly. Yeah, my mother noticed I was not only creative but observant, and so so she would encourage me by buying sketchbooks and paints and different things like and signing me up for little painting classes and stuff.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Did she was she active in the opera for quite a bit of your childhood?
She was involved with the Civic Opera in Springfield while I was a child,
Okay.
and she taught piano and voice at Wittenberg University. That's where we grew up right on the campus.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right on the campus. So, as a little kid, I part of that was like my stomping grounds. I knew how to go in and out of those buildings with the college students and go. I could, in those days, they would tolerate a little kid who was curious and wanted to learn. And
Right, right.
I could go in and then the professor would show me, hey, look, in the biology lab, he'd show me what he had the kids working on, or I could go to the observatory and look through the telescope and go to the chemistry lab and see what their students are doing there and stuff. So in those days, yeah, it was easy for a little kid to I was just exploring all the time.
Right, right. I can imagine. Was that, did you feel the environment of the college campus a little bit more welcoming and comfortable versus elementary school?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I the kids not only at school but in the neighborhood and even at church were always picking on my brother.
Yeah,
It just wasn't they weren't perceived as safe to
yeah,
me.
for sure.
And unfortunately, I didn't learn social skills that you're supposed to learn when you're a little kid on the playground, interacting with the other kids.
Right, right.
I didn't want to have anything to do with them, so I did not pick up on the subtle facial signals and body language and the stuff that you're supposed to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any teachers that you can remember from elementary
Oh,
that
definitely. Yeah. That's
noticed your artistic abilities?
definitely. Yeah. And you know how everybody remembers what they were doing the day that President Kennedy got shot?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that particular day, the principal of the school had came to our classroom. I was in third grade. She came
Okay.
to our classroom, came in the classroom, spoke to the teacher, and pointed at me. And then supposed to go with her. And I'm thinking, oh no, and now I'm in big trouble. The principal's here. And so she took me with her from the classroom. And out in the hallway, there were two other kids from the school. And she took us, the three of us, to the gymnasium. And we were to paint murals, scenery for a school play or something that day. And that's what I was taken out of class to paint artwork all day. And then at
Wow.
the end of the day, came back to my classroom, and all the kids were watching the TV up in the corner, and they were all crying. And I had to get caught up on the fact that the president had just got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting, the timing of that, putting you in a space of creativity
Yeah.
versus a space where you're hearing all this information that may not have registered or been a little bit too much overwhelming for you as a child at that point.
Uh-huh.
That's fascinating. That's
Yep.
fascinating. As you moved closer to junior high, did that shyness and wanting to be by yourself, did that still continue on towards junior high?
I would say that by uh, see, I became fascinated with the circus because my dad loved the circus.
Okay.
And so by the time I was, I think, 11, 12, and 13, I was producing a circus in our backyard.
Really?
So I had enough gumption to enroll other kids into doing this thing with me. So I wouldn't say I remained completely reclusive because I was passionate about creativity uh, and included the
Yeah, for
other
sure.
kids, and then ended up attracting the whole neighborhood to watch what we had put together, and even made a few dollars at it.
Right. Yeah, that's quite a shift in terms of uh, being that engaged to create that environment and then get others to follow you
Uh-huh.
versus the way you described it a little bit earlier, where you didn't really want to fit into any other
Yeah.
forms of
I
like
think
teams.
I, what I discovered as a little kid was that the circus gave me a place where I had some hope, where I
Right?
where I could do something and excel and not fit. maybe the problem was I wasn't interested in fitting into what was considered normal
Right.
because uh, yeah, I didn't want to be a target, and
Yeah.
I just went the other direction and excelled at being different from the normal.
Right. Did some of what you saw at the circuses that your dad took you to, did you see an environment there within some of the participants of the circus, the entertainers? Did you see some characteristics of complete acceptance, regardless of what they may have looked like or what they may have been the attraction for?
Yeah, they're very well. It's a very real thing. They give. That's part of the what you'd hit the nail right on the head.
The
It was
fascination of it.
a safe place for them to be exactly who they were.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they didn't have to wear Tommy Hilfiger shirt or something in order to uh, be accepted or uh, all that kind of stuff. They could be just exactly the way they were and contribute with their unique skill set
yeah,
and be part of a grand organism that had a purpose
for sure.
that people admired.
Yeah. Which circus act did you relate to the most?
The interesting thing that happened, see, I went to the circus with my drums and I started playing the drums to
Okay.
accent the things that were taking place with the performers. When the girl would climb up the thing to go up to the rigging and she'd kick her leg out, I would coordinate a rim shot with the kick out, and then I would heighten suspense with a drum roll right when the daredevil was getting ready to do his thing, and all. And so I used my creative sense in that arena at the beginning. But what I ended up becoming fascinated with while I was playing the drums in the shows was the performing animals,
Okay.
specifically the horses. And looking back, I end up realizing that there was something relational missing because of decisions I made as a child. And I was attracted to the horses and the horse trainers who were magically making their animals perform these incredible things. And it just became, it was like I was like a moth drawn to the flame. And
Yeah.
I look back now and I realize that horses are what introduced me to practical relationships with others. It started with with living beings, horses.
Yeah.
A few years go by and I have a 6-horse Liberty Act that I'm performing at the circus all the time, and then I progressed to uh, riding horses. Not like a bareback daredevil rider or anything. I would ride the dancing horses and
Yeah.
progressed from entry level, uh, what they call the manage horses, and then I progressed into the dancing horses, which are called the horses schooled to the highest level, and that's became a passion of mine because it's not only a very very complicated uh, discipline that takes practice and rehearsal and training and all this effort, but it's also considered to be the top of the performing hierarchy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the men and women who rode the dancing horses were the top of the heap.
Right. Right. Okay. The the circus that you created at 11, 12 years old, did that translate immediately into this bigger circus that would come to town, or was that later when you were doing the drumming?
the my efforts as a in the back with the backyard circus,
Yeah.
um, I what I did was I translated what I'd been learning because every year the circus came to town, I'd be up early in the morning and I'd be out there. At the beginning, I would go out there and watch them set up, but then when I was big enough, I'd help them set up.
Okay.
Gave me access to learning how all the stuff worked, and I
Right.
able to understand simple physics and knot tying and different kinds of skills that it takes to be around the old time big top tented circus, and then I would translated that in my backyard circus along with uh, copying some ideas that I could get some of the kids to do in the show.
Right. Right.
So, and then that matured, I guess you would say. I never progressed into a choreographer for a professional circus. I,
Okay.
I developed skills not only as a sign painter and a circus decorator and a drummer, a musician, and then other skills. I played the bagpipes at the sideshow and did a magic trick and some other odds and ends, just to be valuable, and played the calliope and you know those kinds of things. And but and then the painting uh, kept um, improving and improving and improving. And then I reached a point where the painting was the most sensible thing to pursue. It was not only something I could do wherever I was in the country, but there was a larger demand for it as the big top circuses began to dwindle in number and not
Right.
use as many animal acts as they did in the past.
Right. Right. Now, did you step into the music and different things like that in high school as you were growing farther along into that age group?
Well, the it was long before high school. See, my mother was a piano teacher and
Okay.
being a voice teacher, so all of us kids took piano lessons when I was
Yeah.
a kid. And then by elementary school, I was playing the trumpet, and then by junior high school, I realized I wanted to be a drummer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did did music was it picked up by your older brother as well at that point?
yeah. My older brother was not necessarily coordinated and
Right.
become a piano player, but he was a singer. He Mother would take him with her to choir practice at church, and then in later years he was in a barbershop quartet. So yeah,
Fast.
he was more of a singer, vocalist.
Yeah. It always interests me um, with individuals that have autistic characteristics, where things that are creative allow them to, from the external world, allow them to look a little bit more normal, when in reality, it's usually a skewed perspective, anyways, because they are normal. It's just they have a
Oh,
different way of thinking.
uh-huh.
But it always fascinates me that creative things are things that they're easily able to pick up on and engage with.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, in all areas.
yeah,
Yeah, music and art and riding horses and now writing, authoring books and telling stories. Yeah, it's creativity in all areas. And I think that most creative people are that way, but I'm not necessarily creative in all areas because you'd think that a creative person would excel in the kitchen, but I just don't seem to excel in my specialty is blackened ravioli.
okay, You like it a little bit on the crunchier side?
So it's like, holy moly, I better just stick to painting stuff.
Yeah. As you're getting towards the end of high school, are you thinking you may go off to college? Or are you thinking I'm going to go and work more in the circus?
At one time, I was actually aiming for the to be in like the Air Force marching band or something.
Okay.
But then, you know how frustration just seems to start to build when you're 13 years old, and
Yeah.
that family of mine with that older brother that producing that bizarre behavior, it just became so frustrating in my family. I started to figure out my family was the problem.
Ah,
And so I started to come up with the solution, and it was serendipity is is the thing that took me out on the road. By this time, we had moved from Ohio, and we were living outside of Chicago. And
okay.
when I was 15, I was old enough to get on the train and go to downtown Chicago on a
Yeah.
Saturday. And I was exploring downtown Chicago and I found a newsstand and I looked at every magazine and newspaper in that newsstand and I found one that had to do with the outdoor amusement business. And I bought it and I took it home. And inside, it just so happened that that particular issue had the circus census in it. It had the name and address of every circus in the country.
Oh, wow.
And I set out to write a letter to every one of those circuses, asking them if they wanted a drummer for this summer. And I got
Okay.
8 replies.
Really?
I started getting these colorful envelopes in the mail, and my dad intercepted them, and he's going, "Hey, what's this kid doing? These getting these letters from circuses." He was like, and all of a sudden, he was like dead set against it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so he ended up making me a deal once he realized I was serious, and he made a deal. And so between my junior and senior year, he took me and my drums to the closest circus. There was one that was going to be in the Appalachian Mountains. He took me
Okay.
there, dropped me off. I spent the summer on the circus, and then he came and got me and brought me back to school for my senior year.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I spent the summer as a 16-year-old playing the drums on a big top circus going through the Appalachian Mountains.
That's fascinating. How how was that environment for you as that 16-year-old boy at
I
that
was
time?
I was just gung ho. All I wanted to do was like fit in and do whatever I could. And I
Yeah.
and that's and there was an old man that took care of all the ponies and the llamas and the different four-legged animals on the show, and I just fell right in with him. He was just a charming old guy that uh, told stories and was fun to be around, and he was probably like Mark Twain, you know. He
Yeah.
knew that if he could entertain this kid, he'd have help with the livestock.
Right.
And so I had the time of my life, and that's where I got introduced to the only critter we ever had growing up. We had a cat in the
Okay.
house, and then a fish in a fish tank. So this was
Right.
actually I was a city boy, and so that was my first experience with helping with the livestock.
Yeah. Yeah. How was it having potentially no curfew whatsoever at that age?
When I was with the circus,
Yeah.
we were busy. There wasn't any reason to, at the end of the day, after drumming 2 shows and tearing down and loading everything on the trucks, there wasn't any reason to do anything but grab a few hours of sleep. We were doing 1 day stands every day. Every morning, we got up real early and we'd go to the next town and set it all up, do 2 shows, and then that night tear it back down. So
Oh, wow.
it was like around the clock. There was always something to do.
Yeah.
So very rigorous. So there wasn't much room to get in trouble.
Got you. So there wasn't a whole lot of free time where you would be there 2, 3 days, weeks. You
No,
were
not at all. Every
setting up and tearing down in a day
Yeah, and
and then
then
moving on.
and if I had a little bit of extra time in the afternoon, they wanted me to paint something.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like around the clock.
And at that point, did you get paid for the work that you were doing?
Oh yeah, I got paid a
Okay.
weekly amount to play the drums in the show, and then I would get a percentage of the peanuts that I sold during the peanut pitch, and then a
Okay.
percentage of the tickets that I sold at the sideshow. There was extra jobs that you could have.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at that point too, being 16 and making your own money at that point in time, did you see that as potentially a way to be autonomous from the family life that was
Oh
kind of
yeah,
a little bit more stressful?
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Once you went back to high school for the senior year, what is your mindset in terms of I just experienced this summer of something that I truly loved and enjoyed being around. Now I'm back in this structured environment and I've got to study and try and figure out what to do to get to the end of the senior year.
Well, I had uh, a double major all through high school. So senior year, all I needed was 2 credits. So
Okay.
I pretty much all I did my senior, I was only there 1 semester, and all I did was music and art. And
Nice.
in the art department, really, they really wanted to encourage me. So they gave me an independent study card so I could just do whatever I wanted. So a lot of times I was down at the city library
Yeah.
digging up books about the circus and doing research and studying and making stuff. And yeah, I've never been bored. I've always been on fire doing something.
Yeah. That's amazing. What's amazing too is the fact that you only had those two courses and they were creative courses your senior year,
Definitely.
which I don't know of many schools unless it's a creative arts school that would even have that capacity to allow a student to be that free
hmm
and creative at that point
They
today.
they actually offered me a tuition scholarship for my art. And
Really
I told him to give it to somebody else because I was going to go join the circus.
amazing. So they were recognizing your talents
Oh yeah.
like above and beyond.
Yeah, I had some very, very special teachers in the art department.
Very cool. Very cool. So once you graduated, did you immediately rush back to the circus life?
Yeah, immediately. Yeah. The
Okay.
the boss that I had worked for, see, it's seasonal. The
Yep.
tenant circus would just be, approximately a little over half of the year.
Yep.
And as soon as I graduated in January, my boss came up because him and his wife were doing marionette puppet shows in the Chicago suburbs, two elementary schools per day.
Okay.
And he wanted to train me how to do that so that his wife could go and start booking the towns for the circus. And so immediately, as soon as that semester was over, next thing you know, I was learning to perform with marionette puppets, put this theater up and down, twice a day and do that. And then I did that for a little while, and then by late winter, early spring, I went to the circus winter quarters and I began to help build a circus from scratch. And we
Oh,
ended up taking out, yeah, I learned, I took welding. I took a night school welding class during that semester also. So I'd have another skill to make me a more valuable circus guy. So I
yeah.
went to the winter quarters and started helping build stuff to take out a show. Yeah.
I'm fascinated, completely fascinated right now. As you're moving into more and more positions within the circus environment, are you starting to get to see more of the country as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we performed a lot of Michigan.
Okay.
And I, in the first 5 years I was around the circus, I think I went to like 347 towns in Michigan
Wow.
and in all of, all the way up Minnesota,
Yeah.
Wisconsin, and then all the way down through the middle of the country to Louisiana and Texas and
All right.
Alabama and stuff. And then I've even been on three tours up in Canada. I've been across half of Canada
Okay.
doing 1 day stands. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I got a lot of traveling in, got to see a lot of country.
Got you.
It's
Eh,
something I really enjoyed doing. I still do. I enjoy traveling around the country.
yeah. You've got that unbridled spirit.
Yeah, and then I had one of my customers several years ago commented about that. He said, "Dave, you are wandering all over the country, doing what you love, making people happy with what you're doing. You should write a book on how to do it." And so I did. That's what I figured out that there are people that probably are sitting on their couch right now that don't know what to do, and I just learned just by having the guts to launch myself as a kid.
Yeah.
So I wanted to put the formula into a book so that other people could 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 do that too, travel around and have a blast. So that's
Right.
what influenced the book, Hit the Road and Thrive.
Okay. Fascinating. As you're out on the road and you're experiencing these different towns, different cities, different states, are you seeing the different cultures as well within each one of those stops? Is
I would
that
I would
starting
say
to make an impression on you?
I would say yes, because I've been to a lot of different parts of the country where everything is drastically different, like they talk differently in North Carolina and Georgia and and that kind of stuff with their
Yeah.
accent. And then the same thing is true with Canada. I went all over Quebec. I did a tour that went all over the whole province of Quebec. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. I've learned how to by going to these different places, I've learned how to pronounce it. It's like before we moved to Illinois, I would say Illinois.
Right.
And then we moved there, and then I knew all of a sudden now I say Illinois. And
Right.
same thing with Louisville and North Carolina and
Yeah.
Quebec.
Right.
I've learned just from being exposed to the different cultures and the dialect that varies in the different places. Yeah.
Right. And from what I'm hearing from your story too, you're very adaptable within those environments.
Yeah, what I've discovered is I have the ability to fit in wherever I am.
Yeah.
It's like that sense of belonging that I did not have as a little kid when I
Right.
was terrified because all of the other kids my age were picking on my brother.
Yeah.
And so there was like a low self-esteem thing about
Yeah.
not fitting in. So maybe that made me try that much harder to find a way to truly fit in.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. And I think, I mean, that very first circus that you started in your backyard, that in and of itself allowed you to step into that adaptable role. Um, and,
Uh-huh. And
but
yeah, and be something to admire instead
right.
instead of something to pick on because
Yeah.
you're, yeah.
Yeah. Did being in that environment of the circus at the age of 18, 19, 20 years old, did that allow you to develop a sense of confidence in complete contrast to what you were as a early elementary kid?
I would say yes, definitely. Yeah. Not only confidence, but the ability to stand in front of the crowd with a
Yeah,
purpose.
right,
With a purpose. Like it started with uh, creating something that made the show even better. You know,
right.
stuff that I did at the drums.
Yeah,
And then even with painting, I would paint a beautiful design on one of the circus trucks,
yeah,
and it gave me it was like a, what do you call it? Yeah, it gave me a way to be in front of the public or the
yeah,
front of other people. Gave me a purpose, and I just wanted to expand my skills and learn even more stuff, so I could
right.
more.
You had an immense curiosity for growth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And creativity.
Yeah,
And I would notice things like, well, certain creative things they had limits. Like when you played the drums, as soon as the echo of that drum lick faded away, it was over.
right,
But if you painted a design on the side of the truck, that lasts. You paint it once and it would be there all the time. And so
for sure.
it was it was a creative outlet with an improvement.
Yeah,
And with like the training horses, takes time and repetition and time and relationship, and then eventually you get to where you and this horse are working together and we can accomplish something that's kind of amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. At what age did you start working with horses more intimately? Was it in your 20s working in the circus?
Yeah, late teens, early 20s. Yeah. My
Okay,
first riding instructor, he put me on a horse in, yeah, probably about when I was 20.
yeah,
Yeah. And it just it's established a pattern of not only uh seeking out mentors who knew skills that I wanted to accumulate.
okay,
And then having the ability to travel gave me the ability to go to different places to learn from these. The man who taught me with Liberty horses was in Oklahoma, and I
all
spent
right,
several winters between seasons in Oklahoma so I could understudy him. And then I had mentors here in Michigan and certainly in Florida.
okay.
Yeah.
What was it like being out in Oklahoma and working with the horsemen there compared to, say, Michigan or Florida? That was different.
That was different. Well, I was completely on my own and I had livestock of my own and certainly limited resources. Because I had a big truck to haul the ponies in, I would walk a mile to the restaurant downtown for dinner every night, and I had to learn to, uh, feed myself breakfast. I learned how to feed myself a whole breakfast and only get four things dirty. The coffee pot, and a frying pan, a fork, and a coffee cup, and I could have a whole breakfast.
So you didn't have to do a whole lot of dishes then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
All right.
definitely. Yeah.
The the thing that has always been fascinating for me with horses is that they have an intuition that is very, very high.
Hmm.
And when you are able to step into that relationship with a horse where you start to get comfortable with each other, it is a process. But it is, I would say, the relationship that develops is something that most people may never even experience with another human being
I
that they
think,
can with a
yeah,
horse.
I think that with the horse, see, the horse doesn't have the ability to communicate back to you necessarily like another person can.
Yeah,
So a horse, we have to become able to read the horse
yeah,
and interpret from whatever they're exhibiting their condition, whether they're uh, and then the other thing is it's a I have a responsibility as a horseman to be the calm the calm influence,
yeah,
especially when you take a horse into an environment as chaotic as a circus, where there are people in the seats making all kinds of noise, and the band is playing, and the drummer is hitting the cymbal, and all this
yeah,
chaos going on. I have to be the calming influence so that we can remember the things that we went through when we were back at that quiet barn at the
right.
in the back of a farm, learning how to march or bow or do all of the things that we were doing. So I would say that the relationship skills that I learned with horses prepared me for uh, entry level relationships with people, which are much more complicated. With a horse, all you have to do is be just honest and consistent and these kinds of things, and you can really connect with a horse over
Yeah.
a period of time. But with people, they're very complicated because we
Oh yeah.
got whims and we got things that are driving our personality that other people don't even know about. And then there's other kinds of psychological turbulence going on. And it's stuff between people is very complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
But I
For
think
sure.
that the skills accumulated as a horseman helps me with remaining useful in the relationships that I have with people today.
I can imagine very much so.
Uh-huh.
Imagine very much so. Was there a certain point where maybe you took horsemanship outside of the circus and into the show arenas at all?
Meaning different than a circus? Yeah, you mean like a
Right.
horse show? Yeah, I performed at some big horse shows here and there, not too much. What was happening as I as my skills continued to develop was the market for performing horses was kind of going away.
Okay.
And so I progressed all the way until 1996 was the last time I performed with my horse and my little mule. And by that time, I had two incredible acts with two, wonderful animals.
Right.
But it coincided with discovering a huge market for painting murals on the exteriors of motorhomes. That was a phenomenon that had just begun in the middle 80s,
Yeah.
and it had gained momentum. And I was becoming uh, highly regarded as a motorhome artist, so it just made good economic sense to pursue that and allow my horse and my mule to become my hobby.
Got you. Were you, did you do any semis at all? Because I remember back in the 80s that I would see a lot of murals on the side of semi trucks or tour buses and stuff like that.
Yeah, not too many semis. Uh it was my specialty was motorhomes.
Okay.
And see, this was after the tour bus. See, prior to that, the big tour buses were the only thing on the highway that were 40 feet long. And the
Right.
only ones were either Silver Eagle or Bluebird or uh, Prevost.
Yep.
But then when the RV manufacturers started to develop a 40-foot diesel pusher motorhome, all of a sudden, Ma and Pa USA could afford one.
Right.
They were big enough and luxurious enough they could sell their house and move into the motorhome. And so that phenomenon started in the mid 80s. And it just, I remember way back then, in the 80s and 90s, there were motorhomes all over the highways. You know, the truckers were complaining about all the motorhomes on the highways back then. And and at those motorhomes had a simple belt line stripe. And so the people that bought them were thinking, hey, what can I do to make it better looking? And so they would commission me to paint some image that would convey some aspect of their personality to personalize the back of the motorhome.
Yeah.
Want gold leaf Cadillac emblem on the side, or their initials or all kinds of finishing touches to make them fancy.
Yeah, for sure. Did at that point, did you start to see your artistry evolving into more of a profession for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it started long before, and it was kind of interesting. I had customers who recognized the value in my developing skill set because, see, my attitude was pretty much I was just using painting to excel as a horseman
Okay.
because I needed money to, spend on my horses. And it was always something that was easy for me to do. So I don't think I really took it seriously until I was in my mid 20s.
Yeah.
And that's, when I finally went, hey, I ought to be doing this for a living.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. At that age too, how is your relationship in terms of going back home or any of that? Or was it a scenario where you had had so much freedom that being at home or being around your brother had kind of started to fade in terms of connection?
What ended up happening was my dad ended up, after a couple of years of this, my dad figured out, you know what, that kid's having a blast. He's having the time of his life. He's making money. He's doing what he loves. And he pretty much he turned around and became my ally. And
Okay.
there was even a time when he spent part of a summer with me. We had a healing experience,
Amazing.
and so we were able to transform the tension of our childhood I was very fortunate to have the experience of becoming best friends with my dad, before
Wow.
before he passed on. And then uh and the other experience that was transformational had to do with my relationship with alcohol, because
Okay.
during my rise in my 20s as a performer, uh just busy, 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 I started using like alcohol as fuel, I think.
Yeah.
And it gave me it kind of anesthetized the feeling of shame that I had been carrying since I was a child. And at the beginning, it worked. It helped to lubricate me so that I could be entertaining in front of girls and stuff. And
Right.
then as the years went by, the stuff got a grip on me, and then I started to desire a life without alcohol. And I actually conducted an experiment. I had been invited to perform with my dancing horse at Dallas, Texas, at the Big D Saddle Horse Show, which was a big deal in the Coliseum. And I was
Okay.
headliner with my dancing horse. And I had the sneaking suspicion that I could do a better job if I quit drinking. And I was just drinking the same amount every day. I wasn't a, you know, drink till you pass out kind of a drinker. I just drank to get to a certain level and I just stay there.
Right.
And so I quit drinking 3 weeks before the event, and I practiced with my horse and rehearsed, and we got really together, really working tight. And I went to the event and performed and did a bang up job. And then as soon as the event was over, my drinking just resumed right there where I'd left off.
Oh, wow.
But that educational experiment kind of planted a seed,
All right.
and it kind of ended up leading into probably an inevitable conclusion, which, if you know anything about alcoholics, we have to hit a bottom.
Yeah.
And so I hit a bottom, and then I was still so used to being self-sufficient and self-reliant. Uh, the process of recovery didn't start with sobriety. I was still too independent, and I had to actually suffer in sobriety before I would finally take my hat in my hand and reach out to another man and say, "Hey, I need help."
Right.
And then I was able to enter into the process of recovery, which
Okay.
introduced me to other principles that I could add to the skills that I've already developed with horses, and
Right.
I was introduced to things uh, that were relational, not only with other people, but especially with ourselves, our relationship with our belief system, and understanding where our uh, personality quirks come from, and then entering into a relationship with a higher power,
Yeah.
and then making the uh, decisions and subtracting the things that no longer work, and that's really what gave me a huge boost in regards to finding a practical way to live a life with purpose.
Okay. If you don't mind, can we go to that low point with alcohol? That bottom that you hit?
Of course, yeah, definitely.
What did that look like for you?
I was devastated. My dancing horse uh, had accumulated what's called uh, she had laminitis, which is a condition in her feet,
Okay.
which rendered it was a dead end. It wasn't anything that it could have been reversed, but I did not have the right veterinarian. I had a quack
Okay.
lied on, and he did not know what he was looking at. It could have been reversed if he would have done something immediately, but he didn't. And so it was unfortunate, and I was not going to believe it. I was I,
Mhm.
I was in denial, belligerent denial of the fact that this wonderful horse who I had trained to this level
Yeah.
was her career was over. And I was just bound and determined to do anything that I could. So I was like blind to the truth. And I just took care of her, and I would bed her up to her belly and bandage her feet and do everything I could. And it was just getting worse. And people around me were saying, "Dave, you're going to have to think about putting this mare down." And I found out that there was a blacksmith in Oklahoma City that could reverse the effects of laminitis. And I took the horse out there, and by that time it was just too far. And he said,
Oh man.
"Oh, it's too far. We're going to have to put her down." So that coincided with me hitting bottom,
Okay.
and that was in sobriety. By this time, I had 6 months of sobriety, and so I was devastated. The horse that I'd connected with my
Yeah.
whole life, and
Yeah.
then I spent all that money taking care of her. So I was like, I'd become destitute and stranded, and I had people that wanted me to paint stuff, but I was just I was a mess. And
You're too low.
I was a mess. And so when I hit my bottom, my response was to just start going to these meetings, and I would go to meetings like 3 times a day. I was
Okay.
like in a stupor. I did not know what to do. I was affected by like grief and all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah.
a little bit at a time, these other people in that program would uh, give me a little encouragement. And then one man became my sponsor, and he walked me through the book and explained to me what was in the book and what it was that we had to learn how to do. And say, I didn't know how to talk when I had at this time. I didn't know how to talk to another person.
Okay.
With the intimacy and the revealing of the feeling. I wasn't aware of what my feelings were.
Really?
I could talk to a horse, I could excel as an artist, I could create, but I wasn't functional emotionally or, all that other stuff spiritually. And so
Hmm.
it was a long climb that just
Gotcha.
time. But what ended up happening, fortunately, was that because of my initial dedication to like 3 meetings a day and working with my sponsor, we were
Yeah.
able to gather some momentum. And then as a couple of years passed, I was, back on top of my game. And that's when God revealed the next incredible uh, stage of my career, and that's when I discovered the huge market for murals on the motorhomes. And because I was able to take the skills that I had accumulated as a circus guy
Yeah.
and travel to chase the work all over the country, these motorhomes were not sitting still. They would clump up someplace different every week, and I was able to chase them around and stay busy. And that's exactly what I needed at that point in my life, you know,
Right.
was to
Did
stay busy.
did going to the meetings and stuff like that and what you were learning there through the process of the 12-step program, did any of that information um, remind you of different things that maybe your father was talking about as a minister when you were younger?
It was different. And see, you got to also remember that I was probably damaged by the church because
Okay.
of the kids picking on my brother at church.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in the God of the church.
Right. Got you.
And so when I made it to AA, I wasn't really interested in that aspect. So they had to make it palatable for me. And so they said, well, why don't you just come up with your own concept? And
Okay.
I ended up with an entry level higher power. And then
Yeah.
I built on that. So today I have a relationship with God. And I realized that there are a lot of church people that don't have the same relationship that I was able to find on a
Right.
on an intimate, practical level because of the cross that I had to bear.
Right. Right. It's fascinating. I always find that very interesting. And the reason that I say that is because I grew up, um, my parents were fundamental Baptist. So they took me to church quite regularly.
Hmm.
But then in fourth grade, transitioned me into the church school. Prior to that, I was in public schools. So when they transitioned me into church school, then things got a little bit more stricter and all of that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so I understand that perspective of you seeing the abuse that your brother was experiencing within that environment,
Hmm.
and wanting to turn away from it because there's a lot of elements within those circles where there's uh, hypocrisy that shows up
Yeah.
versus what is actually spoken.
Yeah.
So I understand that definitely.
Hmm.
And it's amazing to me too that you have since found another way to connect with God that suits you and your relationship.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be tied to anything other than just your relationship to that entity.
And my relationship with my fellowship. The
Yeah.
first thing that's what's happened is the 12 steps have introduced me to a service mentality. So as I go through my day, as I keep foremost in my mind, wondering what it is that I can do to be a blessing to those around me, it's given me a completely different way of a purpose for my
Yeah.
life. To just remain on the lookout for ways to be of service to others,
Right.
which gives me relief from all of that caca that kept me separated before.
Right.
Separated from the church because of caca,
Yeah.
separated from my community because of caca, and all that other stuff. It's like, wait a minute, we can get rid of the caca, but
Right.
then we gotta have and then so the service mentality is just given me a complete. That's what drives me to get up in the morning and write. I'm
Yeah.
writing with the goal of the reader receiving the payoff that it was so freely given to me.
Nice. That's amazing. True, true transformation and true um, ideological change to look at it from the perspective of service to others versus it being self-centered and all about you
Yeah.
and what you're dealing with, kind of a thing. That's fantastic. I commend you for that. With stepping into this world of motorhomes and painting these murals, at what point did you see the opportunity in that process of your business to step out into other avenues of being creative?
The I would say, looking back, the evolution of my career was not necessarily choreographed by me.
Okay.
It was like it was divinely provided to me. I When I found the market and I launched myself on the road, I was on the road 9 years solid, chasing
Wow.
work. And I became the most prolific artist in the RV scene. And that's what made it attractive for the largest RV dealership in the country to make it attractive for me to become the resident artist. And I was
Oh,
a
wow.
resident artist at a big dealership in Tampa, Florida. And that's the reason I have a home in Florida today, is
Okay.
because of that residency. And it only lasted so long because as soon as the computer took the labor out of doing full body paint jobs with paint mask systems,
Yeah.
and then they started printing digital wraps, the era of the hand painted airbrushed mural was pretty much over.
Right.
What had happened right before that was the Harley Davidson industry was busy building big fancy brick and mortar retail facilities, and they wanted to create an upscale experience for motorcyclists and have a place where they could sell more than just motorcycles. They could sell accessories and t-shirts and everything else you can think of. And a couple of my motorhome customers owned Harley Davidson stores. And
Okay.
they invited me to come to their new building and paint murals on the insides and the outsides of their buildings. And that's where I got introduced to the motorcycle crowd. I'd be in there painting a big mural on the side of the wall, and these bikers would come and admire me, what I'm doing, and they'd go, "Hey, could you come out to the parking lot and look at my bike?" And they'd talk me into putting a design on their bike. And that's when I had realized, hey, this is the place for me to be, in the
Yeah,
parking lot at a Harley Davidson dealership.
for sure.
So yeah, and the next thing you know, the motorhomes dried up, and the RV dealership, the owner saw the writing on the wall, and he sold the RV dealership. So that whole experience went away. But I was already going from Harley store to Harley store. I developed a way to capitalize on that. And I already knew how to travel, so it was just like a no-brainer. Just switch, switch demographics.
Yeah, for sure. Switch means of travel
Yeah,
from motorhome to motorcycle.
motorcycles. Yeah.
What's fascinating too, from my perspective, as I'm listening to your story, is the transition from the equestrian horse now to the iron horse
Uh-huh.
as well.
Yeah.
That's fascinating from my
Yeah, a
side.
lot of times those big old burly bikers would come up to me and they'd say, "Do you ride?" And I have the ability to say, "Well, yeah, I've been riding for 30 years."
Right.
I just mentioned that I was on a horse the whole
Yeah,
time.
exactly. That's amazing. Um, at that point in time too, if I'm just tracking the timeline correctly, that's around the same time when the motorcycle industry is starting to explode with all of the custom builders.
Yeah,
Yes?
that was exactly right. There were choppers all over the place, and it was the hottest thing. So I
Right.
was at the right again, I was at the right place at the right time.
Right, for sure. Did you transition the pinstriping and the gold leaf and that stuff as well into the motorcycles also?
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely.
So
Mm.
then that also gave you a leg up on a lot of maybe some of the other airbrush artists.
Uh, what I did was I capitalized on uh doing stuff on location.
Okay.
Yeah, because of my show business background. There
Right. Yeah.
are some excellent artists that like to be left alone in their art studio to
Yep.
do some incredible artwork on these. And those show bikes have just hours and hours and hours worth of work on them.
Right.
But so I wasn't necessarily involved in doing the show bikes. I would certainly do stuff on show bikes, but my with I guess it's because of my entertainment background. I created an environment that put in the midst of the bikers, gives them an art gallery to look at, and they can look over my shoulder while I'm doing the work.
Right.
And that's another thing that sets me apart from the other artists. There's a lot of artists that are shy and they don't want anybody watching them.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That that experience as a young kid creating that environment in your backyard allowed you to be able to transition that into doing that on site with the motorhomes and then now with the bikes at the dealerships and stuff like that. That skill set is profound in a creative because the ability to be able to go into those environments with all those eyeballs looking at you and be able to focus just on you and doing the craft and kind of giving them a show
Uh-huh.
versus them just looking at you and it making you self-conscious as a lot of artists are when it comes to being in front of a lot of crowded space at
Hmm.
different shows throughout the years.
Yeah.
That's
And sometimes it'll it'll bite me in the butt too.
okay.
I'll be involved in the fussiest thing possible. I've got to put a thin line that goes exactly straight along the underneath side of a motorcycle tank on a tank. And the best thing for me to do is to lay down on the ground. I put a rubber floor down. I'm laying down on the ground and I'm pulling this line across this tank. It takes every bit of my concentration to do that, and some lady will come up and she'll get down there with me and peer with me, and she says, "Is it okay if I ask you a question?" It's like,
Um,
holy moly.
yeah,
So yeah, but I think that's also the show business thing, with the horses.
Yeah,
With the horses, I was putting those horses in the midst of chaos
right.
at the circus, and so it's like, it doesn't probably doesn't affect me like it would affect more a shy artist. When they do that, I'm thinking to myself, my God, lady, can you let me just get this thing done and then just wait another minute?
Right. Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, I get it completely. I've done quite a few uh, music festivals
Uh-huh.
where I've set up and sold T-shirts and hats and different things like that. And at a period of time when I was doing my jewelry, I was selling it bike shows and stuff like that as well. And it's always a scenario for me where it after at least the first day of it, it becomes overwhelming because I'm absorbing all of this energy that's
Oh,
around me.
yeah.
So it's a bit more difficult for me. So I commend you for having that capacity because it's another skill set as a creative
Uh-huh.
that's very much an asset, um, and allows you to navigate in different ways that a lot of others don't have the capacity to do so.
Uh-huh.
Once the motorcycle industry starts to taper off with its rise of peak custom building and everybody being enthralled with all the shows that are on TV and all the different builders like Jesse James and the Tuttles and um, Billy Lane and uh, Eric Gorgeous, Voodoo Choppers, different people like this. Are you starting to see another opportunity that's going to come along that is going to allow you to shift from that?
Definitely. Yeah, that's one thing that's taking place right now. It seems like the motorcycle industry overall is starting to get soft
Yeah,
because the demographic is maturing and there are no young people stepping up to become motorcycle enthusiasts. Uh,
right.
and so I wanted to introduce how my writing, my authoring of books began,
Okay.
because back in recovery, part of the process of recovery from alcoholism is the writing that you do. There's our inventories. There are lists of things that you make, and then there's inventories of not only the people that were in our lives, but the events that took place. And I guess I just used my same creative attitude, and and I started writing. I had an early sponsor early on that told me that he wanted me to make writing a part of my day, and
Okay.
and to keep it simple. He said, just write down one name a day. You can do that, can't you? Well, that was easy enough. I can do that. And so that introduced making writing a day part of my daily routine. And so after the recovery process, writing was was complete, I started making writing marketing material to promote myself as an RV artist back in those days, and then I would interview my motorhome customers and find out something interesting about them, and I'd write a little essay to put in magazines and stuff about why we painted this on the back of their motorhome. And then the next thing you know, I'm writing these different essays and stories. And then I had the fortune to meet a man who was a creative writing professor at a university close by, and we became friends. And he says, "Well, let me see what you got."
Yeah.
And I had more than enough for a book. And so he took that stuff and read it for a year. And then he came back and said, "Hey, let's put together a book." So he helped me, and we put together a book, and that evolved into the next book, and then the next book, and now I've got 5 books published, and I got 2 more in the works, and it just uh, it just continues to evolve. So, do I see something different taking place in the future as the motorcycle thing continues to decline? Well, the fortunate news is that my market share continues to increase because, in addition to the demographic changing, the other men who do this fine pinstriping on motorcycles, that number is declining also.
Yes.
So I'm able to continue to stay busy and remain successful as a pinstripe artist. And I
Yeah.
suspect I'm going to be able to do that for as long as I want to. And you know, and still enjoy doing it. But I'm also seeing uh, there's a creative answer with not only the books that I write, but as the stories that I tell, like I'm helping you with right now on
Yeah.
this podcast, that is also going to serve uh, and bless the people who are the listeners out there.
For
And like
sure.
I mentioned earlier, that's what drives the desire to keep writing and writing and writing is the I keep the I keep the reader in mind. I want to create something for them so that they can be blessed with uh, possibly the knowledge that I've had the ability to accumulate because of this unique career path that I've been on my whole career. That's another reason why I wrote that book, Hit the Road and Thrive. It's just a formula for uh, you know for the attitude that it takes to do something that you love and have a and get to live the dream doing it.
Yeah. I think that mindset and the roadmap that you've kind of created in that book would be very beneficial to creatives today. And the reason I'm saying that is because I know that there's a lot of talk within the communities about AI
Oh
and
yeah.
how that's taking over different things. But also, too, there's a lot of creatives who are looking to be off grid, so to speak, and they're taking like buses and different things like that and turning them into mobile homes of their own, that kind of a thing. And that mentality, having a book like that, would give them some insight into the way that you've navigated being on the road for so many years as a creative. Give them some insight into different things that they can step into going from one city or one place to another, whether it's city to city or state to state.
Yeah. And
Or
I've actually written another book that's going to benefit those people, and it has to do with my relationship with RVs and
okay,
RVing, because as a 18-year-old, I actually built my very first RV camper.
oh wow,
When I got done with my first full season on the road, I made so much money. I went to Elkhart, Indiana, and I watched how they were building them. And then I bought all the components, and then I went to my mom and dad's home outside of Chicago and cleared out the garage and created a place for me to build my camper. And I put that on the back of the pickup truck that I had purchased. And
yeah,
that started my relationship with RVs. And I've had and built and acquired and customized, and so I put an exhaustive amount of information for the people who are considering making the move to an RV. And that book is called Responsible RVing.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Are you familiar with Marcus Lemonis at all of Camper World?
No, I'm not.
That would be a fascinating person to see you connect with when you get that finished.
It is fit, and it's available uh, on a website that I created. People can go get a free download.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Then we'll make sure that we've got that in the description as well
Okay.
when we make this live. But yeah,
Can I just Marcus who?
Marcus Lemonis,
Okay.
Lemonis. He owns Camping World,
All right.
and he has a lot of RVs uh, that they
Yeah.
dealerships as well. He
Yep.
started out in the automotive industry as a kid, and he had a show on CNBC called The Profit, where he would go around to all of these different businesses and help them kind of restart what they had got to in terms of a plateau. He would
Oh
kind of
yeah.
boost them up and put them back out there. Some worked, some didn't work. Some wanted his help, some didn't.
Yeah.
But he's a big proponent of camping and RVing and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Cool.
So I had the opportunity to be on one of his episodes of the Prophet. I was on the fifth season, episode 5, where he was working with a local denim company here in Detroit, and I got the opportunity to go in and be interviewed and show them some samples of stuff that I had done. And
Uh-huh.
they were looking to hire in designers on that episode, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to work with them any further after that. But one of the things that always stuck out to me and that I remembered from that conversation and interview was that he kind of complimented me on the fact that I came into that part of the show with actual samples of denim jeans that I had created that had leather accents and stuff like that on them. And I brought my portfolio in and had it open on the show and all that kind of stuff. And he complimented me on the fact that I was one of the only individuals throughout that whole process that actually came in with stuff in hand.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's something to say about putting something in front of somebody that's a finished product that you've created, um,
Uh-huh.
is being able to get noticed a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. With the writing that you're doing, um, are you working with a traditional publisher or are you working with it on your own, doing self-publishing?
The first 5 books are all self-published, and they're
Okay.
all available on Amazon. And I'm realizing as the result of that experience that I'm not reaching a very large audience.
Okay.
So the next book, which is pretty much a love story about my third dancing horse, which I took from being a scared colt all the way to the top of the echelon, and then in retirement and through the uh, affliction that he developed all the way to the point where I had to put him down, is in this book, the next book. And
Okay.
so it's a horse love story that also has the another theme, and that has to do with my relationship with the road. And so it's with the editor right now, getting the second developmental edit, and the goal will be to find a traditional publisher. And there are several publishers who specialize in books about horses, and
Yeah.
I'd like to go through that process, and because they have a large audience, and that's part of what would be attractive would be knowing that the book is going out into the world and it's going to reach a lot of readers.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like people people with horses have the same mentality about those horses as people who have dogs and cats.
Uh-huh.
They have such a connection to those animals that that's their life.
Uh-huh.
You know, they live that every single day.
Yeah.
Um, and I definitely see the avenue that, yeah, you've definitely got a captive audience there. Just
Now,
amazing.
the next book that I'm writing, I'm still working on it. I'm still fleshing it out. I was inspired last April in regards to my perspective as a kid growing up with an older brother who had Asperger's.
Okay.
And that would be for the sake of possibly offering hope to people in frustrating situations that don't know
Yeah.
there's a way out. Because thank goodness I've had the opportunity to heal how it affected me and transform the hatred that I had for my older brother into empathy and
Yes.
acceptance because he's still producing that same bizarre behavior today.
Yeah.
But I don't have to let it affect me like the way it affected me before. So that
Right.
I'm busy right now working on that manuscript also.
Fantastic. That's an amazing place to get to. Um, Coming through years of holding on to that
Uh-huh.
and getting to a place of empathy. Did did the possibility of working with horses and the relationship that you have to have with those horses and the scenario of going through the 12 step program and how you started to look at relationships there, did that affect the way that you started to look at your relationship with your brother and that empathy start coming out?
Of course, definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it started with horses. I
yeah,
learned the practical relational skills of consistency and honesty and that kind of thing, and then continued to develop it with the 12-step recovery process. And then it would just naturally became uh, a natural, logical next step. And I remember sitting in church and there were stories about something about, if you have if you have something to lay at the altar and you still got a beef with your brother, first of all, go and settle that beef with your brother and then come back and lay your gift at the altar, which
yeah,
somehow kind of means that if you want uh, a close relationship with God, it starts by having a healed relationship with your brother.
yeah, for sure.
And yeah, and so hopefully that would be the kind of message that would inspire healing to take place with the people who read the book.
Oh, I can believe that it will. And it's necessary. I would say even more so today in this time because of the increase of children who are being born autistic and developing autism. I think it's highly valuable
Uh-huh.
that you would be putting this book out because it can give so much insight into what the societal relationship was to your brother at that young age that you were experiencing it
Uh-huh.
versus the way society is today starting to look at it.
Yeah.
Whole different perspective going on.
Yeah.
Back then, it was looked at as abnormal, uh, outcast, that type of thing.
Yeah.
That's where all that, you know, bullying came into play that you experienced, all of that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think again, it's fascinating to me too because I'm seeing with your story these, as you've described it, these pivotal moments of where the opportunity meets you. And
Yeah.
I think the opportunity is meeting you again with these books that you're writing, based on the format of the book and what it's targeted to and what's going on in the world today. I
Uh-huh.
think it's very fascinating.
Yeah. And one of the new skill sets that I've been developing over the last decade has been uh, developing my speaking skills
Okay.
because it's sort of like the concept of the guy that built the ball field in the middle of Iowa, in the middle of nowhere. Build
Yeah.
build it and they will come. So if I've got a story to tell and I want to uh reach people so that I can bless them, the thing for me to be doing now is developing my skills as not only a speaker but especially as a storyteller, because if I'm going to be in the right place at the right time again
Yep.
and the opportunity occurs, then that's going to be the next way that God wants to use me to be a blessing to the world.
Yeah. I have no doubt that those are going to take place. The way that you've described them, I've always looked at those as like God winks, uh,
Okay, yeah. It's a good
just
one.
little nudges.
I'm watching.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. The opportunity for you have uh, these books come out and looking at the speaking that you're going to potentially be doing, whether it's on a small scale at a bookstore, uh, potentially a TEDx, if they see what you're doing, those types of things. Do you feel that that again is just a continuation of that service mindset?
And the entertainment and
Yeah,
creativity. It's another outlet, an expressive outlet. Definitely.
right.
Yeah, I would say so. I think I must have been born a creative and I
Yeah,
excel in everything except cooking.
exactly. But that's all right though, right? So
Yeah,
that keeps your dishwashing down to a minimum.
there you go.
Yeah, I could see you being able to create almost an individual show, for each one of these books that come out, um, that is just like a mini set
Uh-huh.
that you take with you from place to place. Um, and you could kind of roll that into, whatever kind of fee is required, um, to have you show up at these different events. You could roll that cost into those speaking engagements to where you could literally create an environment that's completely visual as well as presentation, like with that new book,
Uh-huh.
and showcasing a little bit of everything that you have as that showman, from early on as a kid in that backyard
Uh-huh.
circus,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think that'll be fascinating, and I look forward to just kind of watching you go forward, and following you to see how all those things play out for you.
Uh-huh.
With this new view on your relationship with your brother, um, do you feel in any way that it's allowed you to look at him with a different perspective?
It certainly has, yeah. With empathy and with the service mentality, you know,
Yeah,
what is it that I can do to be a blessing to my brother? Yeah,
right.
that's already begun because of his condition, there are things that he just cannot do.
Yeah,
And so, and since I've seemed to excel at being able to do anything I set my mind to, I have the ability to provide ways to be a blessing to my brother.
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Do you feel that the relationship is a lot closer now?
Yeah, as close as it probably can be. Because,
Okay.
yeah, he's doesn't have, I got to realize he does not have those social cogs,
Yes.
ability to consider
Yeah.
the,
Pick up on the cues.
yeah, or even I mean, it's not even just pick up on the cues, but it doesn't have any value. A lot of the social stuff that we uh, utilize in our day-to-day transactions with everybody are he's it's just completely oblivious to my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, may I take a break?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I wanted to ask as we're getting towards the end here is your relationship to sobriety. Have you been able to consistently stay with it, learning the techniques and steps that you have through the programs?
Definitely. Yeah, it's a big part of my life today. My sobriety career is now longer than my drinking career was.
Fantastic.
So what I've learned, and I had to learn it the hard way, I guess that's how we always learn stuff, is that there are things that I must do ongoingly,
Yeah,
throughout every week of my life in order to maintain the it's not like you arrive
right.
and you don't graduate. It's like they describe it like you're on a bicycle and you're going uphill. There's something that we have to keep doing in order to maintain the momentum that we've got. And so that's also what has uh, branched out because the service mentality is part of my relationship with my fellowship because I'm there to give what was freely given to me. But it has expanded into my writing efforts and even my guesting uh, efforts here on different podcasts and stuff. I'm sincere about finding ways to be a blessing to the community.
Yeah, that's fantastic. With something to be of encouragement to some other creatives that are out potentially listening to this episode, that are out there that are struggling right now, whether it's with substance or alcohol or depression or mental stuff like that. Is there one specific thing that you might be able to give them some insight in terms of staying consistent with the process and being able to get some clarity through the process?
I would say the most valuable thing that I've learned is to become part of the group.
Okay.
As soon as
Yeah.
we end up realizing that we're in a herd and the safety is takes place in the middle of the herd, all of a sudden, especially creatives, we want to be left alone so that we can dream dreams of grandeur and come up with these incredible ideas that turn into songs and stories and art and all of these kinds of things. But we actually need each other. So what would be valuable is to become part of a group.
Yeah.
Whether it's a writers group or an artists uh, group, group. All those famous artists that in Paris back in the good old days, they would all congregate and they were all, fast friends while they
Yeah.
were their creative endeavors. They didn't do it completely alone. And
Yeah, for sure.
what would my advice be? My advice would be to reach out, and that's uh, that's one of the things I include in at the end of all my books is my contact information.
Okay.
There's something that you liked? Is there something uh that I can expand on for you? Let's connect. I'd love to hear from you
Yeah.
because that's where we get to grow. We not only have the ability to share our idea with somebody else, which gives us the ability, we're developing the ability to put our concept into words and communicate that concept, but we get depending on the impression that they receive as the result of our description, they give us some feedback that may very well include something that we hadn't thought of before. So we everybody benefits.
Yeah, for sure. That's fantastic. It took me back immediately when you started giving that information about getting with a group. It took me back to you as that little kid who wanted to just be off by yourself and not have to deal with everybody else that was around you. Then to find the circus as a place where you could fit in with a group and
Hmm.
felt comfortable in, and then progress farther into the sobriety groups that you're a part of as an expanding community as well. That's very fascinating for me. One of the things that uh, I always try to leave in the minds of the listeners and those that might be watching as well at each one of these episodes is just a key reminder to listen to your heart, but always be kind to your mind.
Oh yeah.